Sabah everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to try to convince you not to upgrade to the Galaxy S20 line of devices. Stay with me. I'm not trying to say that the S20s are not great and they don't offer great opportunities for us to get really good hardware, the latest and greatest, but I want to share with you guys why, if you already have the S10 Plus, you may not want to upgrade to the S20 line of devices, and I think you should keep this guy for a little bit longer. This is TK and this is the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. Let's check it out. Like and subscribe and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified whenever we have new videos on the channel. Now, first things first, let's go ahead and get things out of the way. This is Samsung's flagship of the S-line devices of 2019. There's no surprise there. This was last year's model. It is literally about a year old, as the S20 line of devices are starting to ship out now, and people are actually starting to receive them. Let's go ahead and unlock the device real quick. What we're getting here essentially is the best of what we had in 2019. It's running the Snapdragon 855. It is not an 855 Plus. It has been upgraded to Android 10.0 with One UI 2.0, so we definitely have the update and it's running the latest version. I am running a custom launcher on here. This is Nova Prime, no problem, no issues. We have gestures here to be able to access all the things that we normally like of having out of Samsung devices. So from a software standpoint, there's no reason for us to say that last year's device is not going to be good in 2020. We have stereo speakers present here, a dual camera setup, and a main camera and a secondary basically a depth camera. On the back, we have a triple camera setup, a wide angle lens, a telephoto lens, as well as a standard focal length, dual tone LED flash, as well as we have wireless charging and reverse wireless charging. On the actual unit, let's go and turn off the device. On the side, we have a power button. That's a dedicated power button on the side. The S20 line of devices has combined this button and the Bixby button into one button on the side. So what we have now with the S20s are the volume rocker and the Bixby button that were present on the left side were moved to the right, and this button was canceled. And you have to basically remap the Bixby / power button to just work as a power button. Out of the box, it does not. So on the left here, we have a dedicated Bixby button, which we can remap now. The antenna bands. On the top, we have a single SIM supporting device with an SD card support, as well as an IP68 rating on this device. So meaning you can actually put it into fresh water to up to 30 minutes in about 1.5 meters, and the device should be able to survive. Keep in mind that the device has to be pristine, has never been dropped, no cracks, no dings, no kind of, well, no compromise as far as the actual integrity of the device. As long as there's no damage, this device should be able to handle basically, again, the IP68 rating that we have. On the bottom, we have a bottom firing speaker combined with a top earpiece to provide us stereo speakers. We have a microphone for this camera, as well as a USB-C port. This is for data and charging, as well as we still have an actual full-size 3.5mm headphone jack. That's something that we no longer have, actually. As of the Note 10 line of devices, as of last year, that kind of went away. The display that we have here is a QHD display running at 60 Hz, and you are able to obviously change the resolution down to, let's say, 1080p or even 720p to be able to save battery. But out of the box, it is basically a WQHD Plus 3040 by 144. That's basically a QHD, and of course you can change the resolution. But again, no high refresh rate. That's something you want to keep in mind. If you're looking for that, obviously the S20s will do a great job of that. But what I'm trying to explain to you guys is of all the features and the things that you can do on this device that will basically make you understand why this is still functional in 2020. We have 4K 30 frames per second recording on the front-facing camera. Let's go ahead and switch over to video, and we'll go into settings. So if you're looking for 4K 60 frames per second, we had that last year. 4K 60 frames per second, 16:9 on the back sensor. On the front, we have 4K 30 frames per second. I mean, not 60, but we had 4K on both. The 8K recording that was just announced on the S20 line of devices, although great on paper, is not really very functional in the day-to-day activity. It is very unstable, as we don't have stabilization on that, as well as the fact that it's running at 24 frames per second, not at 30 frames per second. Great for cinematic shots, but not necessarily for day-to-day activity. So if you're trying to take that video, all of those things kind of need to be basically in really good conditions. The other thing, as I mentioned to you guys, we have a triple camera setup, the 12 megapixel sensors in the back. We have a wide angle lens, which gives us the ability of getting all of those things fit into the actual image. Standard focal length, and of course, telephoto jumping in directly in here. Scene optimization to be able to get great pictures. Live focus to be able to take those bokeh images with your subject. Obviously, it works better on subject. Live focus video, which gives us the ability of viewing the same thing in video. And that was a feature that was added with One UI 2.0. We didn't have that at the beginning, and that was released around the time the Note 10 came out. So a lot of the features that you're looking for right out of the box. And of course, there's additional modes here. We have Instagram mode, that's really nice, panorama, food mode, Pro mode, night mode, slow motion, and basically super slow-mo and slow motion, and of course hyperlapse. A lot of cool things in there and a lot of really good functional things. It is not a 5G device, so keep that in mind. But that means the battery on this will last you quite a bit because it is actually not going to be running on a very new technology that is not widely available for everybody. The two cameras that we have in here is a 10 megapixel with an 8 megapixel sensor on the front. On the back, as I mentioned to you guys, the triple camera setup is two 12 megapixel sensors. One of them is just standard wide, and that's going to be at f1.5 to f2.4. That's basically the dual pixel option that we lost with the S20 line devices, which enables the camera to actually open up the shutter, or the actual iris on the camera, to be able to provide us more light all the way down to f1.5, but it generally runs somewhere between that and 2.4. The secondary telephoto camera here is just basically set at f2.4 just to be able to get that optical zoom. Last but not least, the wide angle lens is a 12 megapixel at f2.2. Again, 4K 60 frames per second on the back, 4K 30 frames per second on the front. Let's go ahead and put this one away. The ability of running your custom launcher, running the latest software version from Samsung. And as you can see here, we're running One UI 2.0 with Android 10.0. And of course, we're going to get the updates from Samsung as soon as they are released. The cameras on these are very, very nice. Let's go ahead and do a quick sample of the front-facing camera and the back-facing camera. This is a quick sample of the front-facing camera on the S10 Plus. Now, I am recording this at 4K 30 frames per second, and I will be downgrading this to 1080p when I put it in the video. But the intention of this is just to get a video and audio sample of the highest resolution possible on the front-facing sensor. Let's go ahead and switch over to the back-facing sensor, and there I'm going to show you a couple of samples. One at 4K 60 frames per second handheld, and one with Super Steady on to show you guys how stabilized the footage can get with the back cameras that we have here. Okay, went ahead and switched over to the back-facing sensor. Again, recording at 4K 60 frames per second handheld. This should be a good example of how the audio and the video should look like in good lighting. Let's go ahead and switch over to the Super Steady, and the reason behind that is because even though it drops to 1080p, it gives us the ability of getting that GoPro / gimbal functionality on a smartphone handheld, and it actually looks really, really good. So I went ahead and switched over to the Super Steady option. I am using the wide angle lens, and I'm going to try to move my hand as much as possible here just to show you guys how the stabilization works. But this should be, again, a good example. Keep in mind that when you do turn that feature on, it does bring it down to 1080p, because what it does essentially is it takes a wider shot and crops it down to give us that stabilization that we're talking about, so that you can do vlogging style videos or anything like that, and even actually use an external microphone that connects via that 3.5mm headphone jack and record audio straight into the video using that. And that's something that we can't do without a dongle right now with the S20 line of devices or even the Note 10. And as you can imagine, gaming on this is going to be absolutely fantastic. So you can see right there, this is PUBG playing full frames. I'm running this at the highest resolution. Obviously, the 855 is not going to be a slouch. Gaming on this is going to be just as good as the 865. May not be as good, and again with the refresh rate, again, since the 865 can go all the way up to 144, but the 855 here runs really nice, 60 frames per second, consistent. We have enough RAM, we have DeX here, we have a lot of the same benefits that we get before. Let's go ahead and land on the ground. Again, same thing, same benefit, all the same powerful processing power that we had with the 865. Again, just may not be exactly at the same speed, but it's still very capable in 2020 and will give you guys the best gaming experience. We have a big enough battery to be able to accommodate this, as well as fast charging on this, and of course, last but not least, wireless charging and reverse wireless charging. Now, of course, for a quick audio sample, just to show you guys again how capable the speakers that we have here. This is NCS Alex Scrindo, a non-copyrighted song. Sounds absolutely fantastic. Again, we still have a 3.5mm headphone jack. We have Dolby Atmos built in here. So as you can see here, all the toggles, all the cool functions, again, DeX built in here, kids mode's built in here, airplane mode. We have Wi-Fi calling support, obviously mobile data, smart view, edge lighting. If you do have that on, Dolby Atmos is able to work not only with the 3.5mm headphone jack, but even with the speakers. We have dark mode right out of the box, natively dark mode to enable actually a system-wide level. Kids mode, if you want to be able to turn it on for younger ones. Edge touch, of course. We have screen recorder built in, always on display. And of course, as you probably already saw with the unlocking, we have, of course, the ability of having videos on here. So let me go ahead and unlock the device. Let's swipe up. and it does so face recognition, fingerprint sensor, the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, pin, all of that stuff is just going to work for you guys exactly in a great way. Last but not least, this supports Good Lock. Now, this is a suite of applications that Samsung's released right around every year. When the new Samsung S line device, they update it every year, and this supports almost all of the functional options that we have here with One UI 2.0. Again, not the One UI 2.1, but we definitely get all of the benefits here, and this will allow us to do this. This is, as you notice right there, I'm running basically more of a carousel style for Recents app as opposed to the standard one. And of course, I'm able to bring in things in multi-window, so open up different applications. So let's go ahead and open up here. Let's go ahead and open up, let me find something. Here, let's open up Chrome. You notice Chrome opens up here. And of course, I can swipe up over here and then swipe over to YouTube, press it open, and then open it up in basically pop-up view or in split screen view. So here would be split screen, and I can go ahead and open it up, and we have multiple applications. Very nice and very easy. Now, even though I don't have 5G on this device and I'm running on LTE, as you can see here, I'm able to clock in down almost 100 to 225 down with almost 56.6, almost 57 megabits down on LTE. This is not a Wi-Fi connection, this is an LTE connection, and it was in Los Angeles on AT&T. LTE is a very capable technology. 5G right now with the sub-6, most of the areas that we have with sub-600 is still basically in its infancy. It's starting to come up, and it is a little bit better, I'm not going to deny that. But overall, battery life on a device like this will last you a lot longer. And what that means essentially, if we're comparing the brand new S20 line of devices with their 5G modem, you are getting the benefit there, and there's the reason why we have bigger batteries there. We have the obviously faster display with 120 Hz at the 1080p resolution, but again, keep in mind, if you're wanting to use the QHD resolution, you're pretty much the exact same experience you have here, 60 frames per second, and that really gets you the full benefit of the display, even on the S20 Ultra. I'm not just talking about the basic version of, let's say, the S20. WQHD or the QHD resolution does not support 120 Hz. So for the most part, if you're looking to get the best experience out of your S20 Ultra, you're still going to be getting a QHD, which is essentially what we have here with the S10 Plus. Currently, the price point for the S10 Plus, if you decide to pick up, let's say, a renewed, so basically a refurbished version off of Amazon, is about $550. And you heard me correctly, $550 for a renewed S10 Plus with 128 gigs of internal storage, water resistance, SD card support, LTE connectivity unlocked, works with almost any carrier that supports SD cards, and again, it's still a very capable device in 2020. Let me know in the comments below if you currently own the Galaxy S10 Plus or even an S10 line of device from like 2019, and are you considering upgrading to the S20 line of devices? For me, I see the benefit of getting the S20 line of devices because I'm going to cover them in videos, but in reality, if you're using this device and you've paid for it already, is it worth it to upgrade to the S20 line? I would say it's too early to call. There are some issues in the cameras with the S20 Ultra, but again, that's the highest end model. Let's say the S20 Plus and the S20 should be basically a very decent upgrade for you. But I don't know if it's worth it enough to basically go to $1,000 plus. This device at launch was at $1,000, so $999. The brand new version of the S20, the base model, is at that price. Even if you're considering upgrading, right now you're going to get up to $600 worth of this, but you can buy it renewed for $550. So even at that point, you're still saving money. So if you're considering upgrading in 2020, and let's say the S20 line of devices are just too expensive for you, I really would recommend you looking in at the S10 line of devices. The S10e, the S10, and the S10 Plus are quite capable. And even if you want to go to the S10 Plus, again, refurbished, $550. Link will be in the description below. Thank you very much for the support. Like and subscribe as usual. And yes, there'll probably be more videos of the Galaxy S20 line devices coming up from my channel very soon. But that was basically my last thing. I wanted to talk to you guys about the S10 line of devices because I don't want people to forget that at the end of the day, if your device is working and it's giving you what you need and it can still handle what you can do, what we need it to do, there really is no reason to upgrade once a year. This is really intended to be a purchase for at least 2+ years, and it is going to last you for that much longer. Samsung's been doing a great job upgrading it, making sure the software is running on it really good. And of course, you're still getting great hardware with a headphone jack. Keep that in mind. I really like the headphone jack. I'll see you guys in the next video.